just a little background about me. Like Dave said, I worked on Extreme Makeover on ABC for 8 long years, amazing years. I designed over 120 homes and traveled across this great country. Worked very closely. What I learned on that show is that design truly can change lives, and that's what I like to talk about because I believe we have a role to play in this industry, and it's very exciting. Extreme Makeover was really fun. I got a really nice palette of being able to be creative, and so I hope that today I'm able to inspire you to be creative, to think a little bit differently, to talk about how to really bring those wow features, right? Currently, I still work on other TV shows, Tiny House Nation, Bakery Boss, all of this list. It's a lot. And then I work in Austin as well. I am from Texas. I'm proof that not everything in Texas is big. And I actually brought a longhorn with me from Texas. This is an analogy of what we're going to talk about today, okay? This is the outside of our home. This is the inside of our home. They should go together. So many times we look at our spaces and it's like we compartmentalize it, exterior, interior. They should go together, y'all. This is the longhorn. I broke the horns on the plane. Some might say that I'm guilty of doing that on purpose because I went to A&M. And this is a longhorn, yeah. So this is the concept. We want to marry those two things together, and that's what we're going to talk about today. These are a number of houses that I did on the show. I like to talk about color, and we'll get into all of that. Just to kind of paint the picture, this is actually, Dave mentioned I worked in Ghana. I worked with a team to build an art center for children in West Africa, and the reason I bring this up is because what do you see on the outside? Legos, right? It's painting the picture of what happens on the inside of the space. Does that make sense to you? Like, this is in the middle of Africa, and kids are here to use creativity to have therapy, and so the exterior speaks to the interior of what's happening. It's playful, it's colorful, it's happy, and it's exciting. So that's what I really want to encourage you guys today, to use your imagination, think like a kid. Pablo Picasso said, every child is an artist. The problem is, how do we remain one when we grow up, right? So this is actually my little dog, Riley. I want us to think about our homes and design and build as one unit. It's not just a square, it's a cube. And you should be able to see through, right? See through the whole space. That's where we create volume and significance in design. When I step onto a doormat, I should have some indication of what it's going to feel like when I walk into that common space. Does that make sense? It should be a precursor. The exterior of your home should be a precursor to what's on the inside, whether it's color, trim, style, character, and design is what we want to talk about today. This is a picture of a client I worked with. Can you guys tell if this is on the exterior or the interior? What do you think? Exterior, raise your hand. Interior, raise your hand. It's on the exterior. So the point is, our spaces should feel like a living, functioning space, an artistic space. It should have character on the outside and the inside. And I love that I stumped you guys. I stumped y'all, right? The ingredients. So if someone walks up to you and brings you a cupcake, what do you expect the ingredients inside to be? Flour, maybe, sugar, eggs, like the icing and all of that. What if you bit into it and it was like bacon? That would be so weird, right? The ingredients on the inside and the outside should match. I'm using food as an analogy because we all love food, right? So if we're talking about ingredients to a home and building and design, a lot of the ingredients of the exterior and the interior match. Like, I made this list for y'all to show you. When you order and you select windows and you spec windows, you see them it's clear glass usually. You see them from the inside and the out. So they should match. They should feel like common to each other. Doors, same thing. I think there's a lot of opportunity we can have with design and doors, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Siding, our walls. If you were to have a dollhouse, right, and take the roof off of the dollhouse, you would be able to see both sides, and it would make sense to each other. Stone, so many times it's like, why are we're picking stone for the exterior of our house, and then we're saying, well, what stone should I use on my fireplace? Why would you not use the same stone if it makes sense, right? Those are the kinds of things that we want to talk about. Roofing, trim, hardware, fence, lighting. It's all these ingredients that create one puzzle. And in order to do this properly, I want us to zoom out, take a step back. This is a picture I took in Maryland, actually. I just worked on a show where we renovated a silo into a bar, and I was mesmerized by our country and the vast land. And I want us to imagine without limits, right? We live in a country where you can literally paint your own house. Like you can use it paint it like a picture. We are blessed where we live. We can take, our country is so influenced by architectural styles of all over the world, right? And we live in a place where we can kind of say, this is what I want my house to feel like. There's HOAs, sure. They don't like people like me. But I think there's a way to compromise and bring a wow factor without disturbing your neighbors. But the point is, I want you to take a step back, and when you're designing for a client or yourself, you really want to know what that puzzle is going to look like, so that all the ingredients make sense, right? It's one gifted package. Be authentic to the architecture. So when we are taking that step back and the client, you have this understanding of what type of architecture speaks to your client, then you're looking at its character-driven design, right? You're saying, okay, my client wants a colonial home. And so you want to be authentic to maybe even do your research. That's what I do. I'll look and say, what's the history of this architectural style? Why did they choose this particular thing? And so that we're sticking to an authenticity in architecture. What we build and what we design, you're leaving a legacy, and you want it to make sense, right, to the world around us. Oops. So take the colonial home as an example. You have shutters, the garage door, the fence, the stone, the doors. The shutters, prime example, shutters were meant to be able to close to keep the sunlight out, right? So that you could climate control your home. Now we do shutters sometimes where it doesn't even cover the window. That's a mistake. Don't do that. Make sure that the width of the shutters on each side matches the width of the window, because if you were to close them, they should close the window. That's authentic architecture. That's a good design. Does that make sense? The fence line, there's so much fun you can have with fence lines and creating character in the foreground of your exterior, and lighting, and all of these things need to be really thoughtfully put together and planned out. We actually, on Extreme, we did a house for a retired soldier, and he collected Civil War memorabilia, and so we actually did a colonial home for him, and it was so neat, because when you drove up to the home, you actually had this nostalgia of that architecture and that era, and then when you walked in, you felt like you were almost walking into this 1800s or very cozy space. You can be transported to a time and a space through design. Does that make sense? And you should have a feeling, when I talk about design, I always like to say design should engage all of our senses, right? It's not just about what we see, it's about what we feel, the textures, it's about what we smell and what we hear. All of those things should, when you've done a good job, you should feel all of those things. It should make you feel good. And nostalgia is one of those things we can create through design. So from the exterior, if we go to the inside, my approach is to carry that through into the common spaces. So when you step in through that front door, the flooring should speak to that genre. The stair railings, think about your fence and the stair parts and the connection there, that they make sense. You're painting the same picture. Your fireplace, your textiles. I love this oval window. Oval windows add such a great little nugget of character and something to look at, and something that's a little different. It's art. It's technically really art on the walls. The exterior, it's all about the details. And this is what drives some of us bananas, and then some of us live for the details. I haven't figured out which I am. I either get, they drive me crazy, or I love them. But on the outside, trim is like an accessory, right? If you look at fashion, I think of home design as a fashion. This morning I'm in all black, and I'm like, what should I accessorize with? This is actually a necklace that was my mother's, so it's meaningful, it's cool, but it's like you have to accessorize. It's that finished touch, right? You can have a square box, but you need to add the details to pull the entire picture together. We used one of these corbels up in the top, and then dental molding. This was one of the homes we did years ago in Joplin, Missouri. Ply Gem did a row of 7 houses, and every house was very, very different. And this was one of the ones we did. And dental molding is one of those types of trims that can say so much for it's not very expensive, but it's those kind of details that pull a space together. One of the things I really love to use are texture and materials on the outside, making sure a good number to stick to is 3, whether you're changing materials or color. 3 is always a good number. You want to think about having a natural element and a colorful element. So this was a house we did in Joplin, actually, and we have the wood and the gray siding, the aluminum windows, all of it goes together. It's that modern touch. The exterior, if you want to add a pop of color and you don't want to be too crazy, do it on the front door. Like, that's a really fun place that people can relate to. They're not too disturbed by it. Paint your front door purple. Why not? I mean, you can change it. It's minimal cost, but very effective. And the landscaping too, y'all. Landscaping is such a key factor in wowing, like the exterior, the curb appeal of your home. It should lead you to the front door. So one thing on the interior to marry the two and to bring a wow factor is, don't just do drywall. Like, bring in other elements. Do siding on the inside. Why not? Do wood siding. Maybe side the ceiling plane. I like to remind people when they're designing that the ceiling is a plane in itself, right? You have your 4 walls and you have your floor, but the ceiling is such an opportunity to inspire people to, when they walk in, they look up, there's something to look at. A good place to do it is in the living room, because that's where you spend a lot of time, that's where you have guests, maybe the dining room. Just don't forget the ceiling. It is truly a detail. Can you guys hear me? Whoa, that's better. Uh-oh. Now we're really going to get people over here. Okay. I hate hearing myself on these things because I sound like I'm 12, right? 16, maybe? Yeah. So texture and materials. So one, like this is, again, you're not even sure if it's on the outside or the inside, but I like to speak in terms of 4-sided architecture, right? When you use texture on the exterior of the wall or the interior, never end on an outside corner. Please don't do it. It's awful. Wrap it to an inside corner, making sure that you've got at least 3 sides. Does that make sense? Or some very intentional place to stop and start it. Obviously, we all have to work within a budget for our clients, but just be intentional with where you're stopping and starting materials. Think about it in terms of scale also. If your house is really short, you want to use maybe a vertical siding so it gives it that longevity. It makes it look taller. I would never wear horizontal stripes. It doesn't help me. I need height, right? So it's a fashion. You want to think about pattern and what your eye sees and what do you want to portray. Vertical siding, horizontal siding, where to stop and start, making sure that, one thing I always say is make sure the windows are lined up to the top of the doors, and just making sure that you're taking the time to line things up so that things are intentionally done. Windows. So this was a house, actually, this is Tiffany and Bertheson's house we just finished up in California, and never in my life did I think I would be designing the home of Saved by the Bell, Kelly Kapowski. I mean, we all watched that show, I don't know. But we had so much fun. We remodeled her bathroom, but her bathroom was very dark. And in a bathroom, you definitely need to have that natural light, right, girls? We have to put on makeup. And so we knocked out part of the wall, added a 9-foot window to let that natural light in. But to create an extra dimension, we you have to have a mirror at the vanity for obvious reasons. And so instead of covering the window with some mounted fixture, I actually put the window or put the mirror on a barn hardware so that you can move it. And so while there's two sinks, there's just one mirror, because if you're standing there shaving or whatever, you just really need that mirror for a limited time, so the client can actually move the mirror left and right, and you still see that view of the outside. And what's beautiful is her front yard is now its own sense of artwork in her bathroom. It's really neat because the landscape and the nature brings an element of artistic value to the bathroom now. So the doors, again, I really believe doors are an opportunity that are sometimes overlooked. On Extreme Makeover, we always had themed rooms. Remember, we did these little room themes for kids. I like to apply that to what I do now, because people can relate to a theme. If you know if you see something, you feel something, and there's a theme, you get it, right? That's the reason you have stagehands in Broadway. You create a stage that tells the story of what that play is about. And your home is really no different. So when I say that the exterior and the interior should match, I really am talking mostly about the common spaces, and I see interior doors as another opportunity to create a different wow factor. So your master bedroom, if you want it to be a Japanese Zen garden, but your house is, a bungalow craftsman, do the Japanese thing in your bedroom, right? You've opened another door, and that is a canvas, a new palette to be created. Kids' rooms, same thing. So many times people ask me, like, well, shouldn't all the paint colors match throughout the house? They don't have to. Who says they have to, right? If you're like me, I love a lot of different styles. I can be modern some days. I can totally go into country bumpkin mode because I'm from Texas. And so why not have these different themes throughout your house? There's nothing wrong with that. Our homes are supposed to speak to our own uniqueness and who we are. And if you want a reading room that makes you feel like you're, on the beach, go for it. Do it. Don't hesitate. But use that door as a defining line to step into a new space, okay? And then, doors are also, you can change them up. In some houses, I've changed the profile of the door for fun, changed the colors. For one client, I actually went to a salvage yard and pulled reclaimed pieces from all over the world, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and we built doors out of those. So each door, you look down the hallway, and each door was its own artistic element. It was really, really beautiful. And you can kind of use those materials to set the stage for what you're about to walk into, right? Just like the picture of my dog with the doormat, it's setting the stage every time you walk through a door into something new. The fence, as I was saying earlier, the fence is a fun place to bring a sense of creativity to your home, to create dimension. Fences don't just have to be to create a border. If you have to have a border, let it be something fun. I'm here to inspire you guys to have fun with creativity and in design. So you look at different characters and different profiles of fencing and do what makes sense, but have some fun with it. This was a little cottage we did in the Joplin build, and we wanted it to have this sense of, a cottage, like a shabby chic, beautiful little English garden. And what better way to do that than to do a white picket fence, right? And then when you go back inside, the fence and the stair parts can totally mirror each other with profile, with color. Landscape design. It is not only for the outside. You should have interior plants inside. You should think about those elements inside. It creates life. Plants are one of those things that I think they really create a healthy environment for us. And so, the latest trends are so all about bringing the outside in. And so that's such an easy, simple way to breathe life into your spaces. Very cost effective and just creates another dimension and color and life into a space. Have you guys heard of the air plants? They're really great. You can hang them. You don't have to water them. When I turned 30 years old, actually, my sister sent me a plant. This was in the days of the travel on Extreme Makeover. Have y'all seen the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney? Yeah, do you remember the scene where he's pulling out his wallet and they're comparing like airline and hotel cards and reward cards, and that was me. I mean, my wallet was thick with like every airline, every hotel, every rental car company. I was the up in the air girl. So for my 30th birthday, my sister sent me this little plant. It was a manzanita branch, but the note said, "Happy birthday, sister. This plant does not require water or sunlight." And I thought, well, I laughed. She knows me well. So she said, you can totally keep this one alive. Like, thanks. Thank you for having so much faith in me. But air plants are really great for people that are busy and on the go. You don't have to water them if you're like me. But they still breathe that fresh life and landscape inside. Color. So this is my soapbox. This is where I get so excited and happy. I believe color is key to design and making a wow factor in your space. I do use a lot of white, but then I punch it. Color, there is a psychology in color. And when you're talking to your clients, you want to know, the first question is, what do you want to feel in this space? That is question number one. You really have to interview your clients and know what they want to feel when they walk in a space. And color, there are books and books and books about the history of color and where colors have been derived from in the earth, and during, tribes all across the world have pulled color out of the earth. There is a psychology. The reason, purple is a sign of royalty is because it was one of the hardest pigments to find. Did y'all know that? So purple is a very rare, the material that they used for it was very rare. So it was only left for royalty. So there is a psychology in color. If you want, it's like when you go into your closet and some days you just want to feel, you feel kind of bland. Like, I'm in all black today, but some days you're like, I feel really happy, I'm going to wear yellow. It's the same thing. Fashion and home design go hand in hand, and color is key to that. It carries us through a space. So here's the thing. Why do we not have color on the outside of our homes so often? I think we're getting better at this as an industry, but why do we have to stick to beige on the outside? Who said we have to stick to beige? I don't know, but I want to have a long talk with whoever made that rule, because it's why? I mean, have some fun with it. It's, again, when you go down, I love when I see a neighborhood and I can say, I feel like I know something about that family based on the design of their home on the outside. Joplin was a prime example. We really dug deep, tried to figure out who these people are, what makes them tick. One family wished they lived at the beach, so we did a beach house for them. And the city of Joplin loves it, and the neighbors love it, and it feels like, you're like, oh yeah, that's the Joneses. They wish they live in Colorado, so their house looks very rustic. And that's okay. Like, that's part of, your home is such a big investment. And for your clients, it's such a big investment. And it is our obligation in this industry to put our best foot forward and try to make sure that the home represents that family well. And the only way to do that is to get to know your client and to interview them and to understand what makes them tick. I want to make sure that you guys are taking the time and giving it the thought, right? When you do that, you will get work out of it because you have connected with this family, you have connected with this client, and when the biggest compliment I ever got on Extreme Makeover, and I heard it many times, and it always made me want to cry, more than when the bus moved. We all cried when the bus moved. Was because they didn't even know we existed. We were like the behind the scenes little bumblebees that are just buzzing about everywhere. And the families, when I would hear them get interviewed, so many of them would say, it's like they got in my head. Like, if I could have dreamed of a house, this was it. And that's our role. Like, I want to empower you guys to have that attitude in home design and in your industry. This is our role. Our role is to infuse that sense of creativity and passion behind our work, because that's someone's money. And they should walk in at the end of the day and sit down and go, I'm so happy here. This is my space. I love it here. That is our role, and we should take that role really seriously. And sometimes we get stuck in the rut of just building, and you can do that, but just take the time. Where I got off on that soapbox from color, I don't know. But that is the role. I love it. So, back to color. This is Brooklyn. If your space on the outside is light and bright, make the space inside light and bright. Okay? That's the concept. But color is key. I believe this is actually a little coffee house in Austin. Y'all know Austin, Texas is super funky. It's really fun. I love it there. But art can be on the exterior. Just like the picture I showed you in the very beginning, you didn't even know if it was on the inside or the outside. Same thing. These are little ways to make a wow factor in both sides of the home, okay? So subtle, so inexpensive, but it's fun and it adds a sense of character. Bringing the outdoors in. This is a trend, again, that we keep seeing. It's inexpensive ideas, but really effective. So I think that design is all about perspective, and it is about seeing all of these individual parts as a whole. But you have to know what the whole thing is going to look like. The sunflower on the left is this beautiful thing. The petals are all these individual parts that make sense, that go together. And honestly, one of the things I also learned on Extreme Makeover is that we should be working together. Builder, raise your hand if you're a designer. Designer. Raise your hand if you're a builder. Builders, we should be family and give each other hugs. When we work together, we create something much more efficient, effective, and beautiful. So if you were to take, I wanted to stop and bring strings for y'all, but if you were to take one of these strings and hold it here, and the other, and that's builders, and you were to take another string and you hold it here, and that's a designer, we are not two individual things. We should work together. Yes? Do we agree? Can we do that? I've seen it happen. And when I align myself with a builder and I know my client, we can really create the best product in the end. So let it be a woven tapestry. We are all in this together. And the individual parts should speak to a whole piece of art. So with that said, I'll finish on, I really believe, so this is, I brought this for y'all too. My friend gave me this. This is a patch that says the Artists Union. I want to pretend like every one of you has a patch, and we're going to put it on our jackets, and you're going to claim your creativity. This is our space. This is what we should do. We should look at design and build as a whole, as an artist, and I want you to claim your creativity because you're leaving a legacy. And at the end of the day, whatever good things you build end up building you. So with that said, there's if you have any questions, I'm totally here, and I'm excited to be here, and just think of it as an artist. That's how you bring the wow factor.